fear is like the background music for so many people these days, and they don't realize it because they're going to work, they're taking care of their families, they're taking care of themselves. But as long as you have this undercurrent of fear and your brain and your nervous system are constantly feeling like you're unsafe and that you need to be protected, then you're going to be pumping all of this chemistry through your body in accordance with those messages.
Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics, raw, real, relatable podcast. We're your hosts, Susan Robbins, certified epigenetic human performance coach,
And Kate King, licensed psychotherapist, board-certified art therapist, and award-winning author. Together, we bring two perspectives, two styles, and one shared passion for epigenetics.
On this podcast, we delve into topics such as environment, nutrition, fitness, mindset, social dynamics, and trauma as they pertain to epigenetic expression in a way that's relatable to everyone.
We recognize that everyone's needs are unique. There are no one-size-fits-all solutions for your mind, body, and heart. The true magic lies within you.
So if you're ready to create a radiant life through epigenetics and reclaim your authentic self, then buckle up. Here we go. Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics, raw, real, relatable podcast. We are your co-hosts. I'm Susan Robbins, certified epigenetic human performance coach, and I'm here with
Kate King, licensed therapist, art therapist, and award-winning author.
This is the place where we talk about everything, lifestyle and environment, and how it relates to our genetic expression. So today, guys, buckle up. Buckle up, buckle in. We are going to be talking about all things fear. The good, yes, because there is some good, the bad, and we know there is some of the ugly that pertains to fear. And we're going to go down this, how it might affect us physiologically. Kate's expertise is going to come into how it really affects us on the mental aspect. And we're just going to tie all this together. And the world is in turmoil to some, extreme turmoil to others. And then we have our just things in day-to-day life that can tend to create fear. And fear can be motivational for some, and it can be super paralyzing to others. And when it's motivating, that's great. But when it's paralyzing, and I've been there, and I think Kate's been there, and we'll talk about it, that it really can keep you from living your best, most radiant life. And so we're going to try to talk through this, and so you can learn about fear, how to maybe harness some of it, how to not let it overpower you and give you that analysis paralysis of rumination, and how to really work with things and live a much happier, healthier life, because it creates stress, and stress kills. And that is the fact of it. And so, like I said, buckle in, buckle up. And I'm going to let Kate start with this one because this tends to be a little more in her wheelhouse. But we sat talking about different things we wanted to discuss on podcasts with the two of us. And the first thing I said is, everybody's afraid of everything right now. And you see the hate coming out. Good God. And people just afraid to live. And that's what fear does. So she said, I love it. Let's do it. So I'm going to let her start with this, and I'll pipe in.
All right. Thank you.
So-
Appreciate it.
Hey,
Wonderful introduction. So first of all, I think even though we're in a crazy time in history right now, fear has always been here. It's always been part of the human wiring. And if you interviewed people from different decades and different generations, I think they could all really speak to how fear was present in their lives and in the happenings of their time. So I think in some ways it's bittersweet. Like, yes, we've always had fear. It's always caused problems. It's always caused stress. But it's always protected us too. And it's helped to steer us. It's helped us to make decisions that preserve our health, that can help us get out of really scary situations. And it's connected to the nervous system. It's the it's the guard inside of us that says, "Wait, something doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
You're not okay. The world's not a safe place. You need to be on high alert." And so I think it's really important that we honor that fear is important. It's here for a reason. And there's a tipping point where prolonged exposure to fear, especially when there isn't an impetus in the moment that is necessary for fear, that can create a lot of inflammation in the body. It can create mental health issues. It can create strife in relationships. And really, it can shut us down. Susan said before, it can be motivating, but it can also be paralyzing. So sometimes when people are saturated with fear, they go into like a place of not trusting themselves. They feel an imposter syndrome. They don't take risks and try new things. They don't reach out.
Close off.
Right. They doze off. They don't connect. So they don't pursue relationships, which we know are essential to our health. And people can also go into like a sort of isolated, dormant state where they're not taking care of themselves because they're so saturated by these stress hormones that are flowing through their body that it's like
Yeah.
a veil covering them that keeps them from seeing everything in their life. So I think it's important to really talk about this balance fact of we have it, we need it, but we have to keep an eye on it and we need to have tools to be able to help regulate. Also, I think it's really important to just name right up front that fear and anxiety are related, but they're not the same. My biggest distinction here is that fear is a primal reaction to danger and threat. So it's something that we share with all creatures on the earth. We have parts of our brain that are completely wired for it. And it basically helps to save your life by igniting the survival responses: fight, flight,
The
flee.
sympathetic and parasympathetic
Yeah,
systems. That's
free.
what it is.
Yeah,
Fight or flight.
on yeah, so I think it's really important that we recognize that it's a biophysiological response to threat. Whereas anxiety, on the other hand, is when that threat takes residence in your mind, in your psychology, and it roots down and affects the way you live your everyday life.
Yeah.
Some of this is conscious, some of it is unconscious. So, fear can lead to anxiety. Prolonged anxiety can lead to fear. It can be confusing to the nervous system. It can be confusing to the people in your life and to yourself, but they are not the same thing.
Yeah. Good clarification there, my friend. And you had mentioned something earlier, and I wanted to touch on that. When people get so buried into this that it really becomes tunnel vision. One of the reasons they can't get out of where they are, because all you can concentrate on is that particular thing that's causing that fear, which leads to the anxiety, like you just said. And different health types are going to be more prone to being affected more. I know me with that huge connector secondary. When a connector is really, really stressed, they isolate. They pull away, where we're typically very social. And I experienced this through stress that I went through, but you'll see others will just become that analysis paralysis kind of thing, that just shut down, or the blinders go on and then they feel inflammation. So that each even of the different health types react differently. The connect activator. So burnout. What have I hit for 6 months was burnout. So I think we'll be able to bring this into really people understanding how it affects the body and the mind
Mm.
so drastically. And I'm a clear example of 6 months of living like this. And I have to say this because it's funny. Kate said to me last week when I had the meltdown after my car thing, she said, "Do you need some therapy?" I said, I don't know if I need therapy or an exorcism. I don't know. I'm just so much. And that was that fight or flight. And the other thing I think we could bring into talking about with this is if you wear a wearable. I don't go anywhere without my Garmin. Some people like the Aura Ring, there's Whoop bands, but we can look at these physiological changes that fear or the anxiety that it can cause, how that affects our body. And we can see this through things like heart rate variability, through resting heart rate. the heart rate variability dropping, resting heart rate typically increasing. So there's ways you can look and see, my God, this is actually really affecting me. Sleep scores. How stressed are you during sleep? People, you might be in bed for 8 hours, but are you actually sleeping for those 8 hours? And even if you're sleeping, how's your body reacting? Yeah.
And also, I think the difference of a spike of fear, like somebody might experience if you're walking across the street and suddenly a car comes, you're going to have a spike in your
Oh, yeah.
body. You're going to have hormones, your neurotransmitters are going to shift,
Mhm.
right? Your body is going to go into gear. Your pupils are going to dilate, your heart rate will increase. You're going to shunt all of your emotional and your physical energy to the center of your body so that and your legs might even start tingling so you can run away,
Or
right?
shake.
Yep.
Mine shakes. Yeah.
Yes. So that would be like a spike response to fear, whereas someone who has prolonged fear, they could even become unconscious to, like, the fact
Yeah.
it's
Flat affect.
like, when you're in a coffee shop and there's always music playing in the background, but you're doing your thing, you're ordering your muffin, chatting with the person in line next to you. It's like fear is like the background music for so many people these days, and they don't realize it because they're going to work, they're taking care of their families, they're taking care of themselves, but as long as you have this undercurrent of fear and your brain and your nervous system are constantly feeling like you're unsafe and that you need to be protected, then you're going to be pumping all of this chemistry through your body in accordance with those messages because the only function of your entire nervous system is to protect you. It
Yeah.
scans your environment 4 times every second trying to look for indicators, am I safe or not? And so it's like when you become this perpetually fearful person, probably also anxious, that you then start to see a lot of problems trickling into your life. So I do think that it's important to know yourself on the level of personality and health type so that you can say, like Susan said, this could lead to burnout for an activator. If you're saturated in fear all the time, of course you're not going to be able to sustain that. Whereas other personality types might be able to live in a state of fear for longer, though it doesn't make it necessarily healthy for them. It might be slower to see the effects.
And I think, genetically too, not just health type wise, but genetically, if you're looking at, like, the COMT gene, which is the breakdown of the catecholamines or those stress neurotransmitters, your
Mhm.
dopamine, norepinephrine, glutamate, things like that, and we're kind of a good example here. I'm the AA, so I'm the very slow breakdown. I can tell you just living day to day, I'm amped up. My brain's amped up all the time. I have to literally do things to really bring calm in, and I have a very rapid, majorly intense reaction to anything stress, or especially like that the fear response that comes in. And it could be a fear response of somebody, you get a phone call from someone that makes you go, and I'll shake. My heart rate goes boop, 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 boop. I can hear it, feel it, amp up. You, on the other hand, opposite, very chill. So you take things in a lot easier, even though you're also your same number activator as I am. But this is where, like, the different pieces of DNA come in. You're a normal breakdown of those neurotransmitters. And so for you, because I don't think you were a GG, you're an AG. That normal breakdown, "Okay, this is stressful. I got this." And you see it just in our demeanor. I'm wired, but my response is so strong, and yours is a little more even keel in that
Mhm.
initial. Again, just being aware of this and understanding this is why I react this way. Again,
And and
mhm,
remembering too that the epigenetic component of this is, yeah, this is how we're wired, but it doesn't mean we can't work with it, right?
amen.
So,
That's the point. Yep.
yeah, so, like, I definitely come across as being even keel, very calm, but I can certainly remember times when I've been filled with fear between the fear anxiety volley, and I feel like a duck just like floating on the surface, but with my little legs going
Right.
so fast, like I'm just revved under the
Yeah,
surface. And it doesn't show in my presentation, but it is still happening. And so this is a really important piece cognitively to work with fear, just to bring
absolutely.
awareness to the way that you amp up, the way that you compartmentalize when you're in a state of fear, so that you know where you default, because you're not going to be able to change your epigenetics if you're not aware of what your wire and how you default. Right? So having
Yeah.
self-awareness is huge, and then working with the thoughts around the fear is also really important, because so often sometimes fear is in the moment, the car is coming toward you, you need to run.
It's that quick response.
Mhm.
That's where I was going with some of us. I When you don't even have time to think about it, your body reacts quicker. But
Mhm.
then once you're in it, okay, breath work. I know I can get back to my homeostasis in this area where
Yeah.
you're gonna feel that under the surface, where I'm harder to control it on the outside.
Mhm.
You're able to more control it because you're feeling it build up and this is what's happening. And me, I don't have it is such a strong response
Yeah. So
that
you
it
are
shows.
yeah, you're probably more likely to either fight or flee, right? Because your body is mobilized, do something, this is scary. Where I am more likely to freeze or fawn because of my trauma history. I have a lot of relational trauma from my early childhood and actually most of my childhood. And so part of my nervous system is make people happy, make it smooth. But the other part of my nervous system goes into that paralysis mode. Like, I remember this time when my kids were really little and we were all sitting on a picnic blanket and the sprinklers started going off and my husband's mobilized. He's like getting the food and moving everybody around and I froze a statue and I was just getting hit by sprinklers. And it was unconscious. This just happened. The way that my body responded to that
Yep.
surprise was with this freeze. And he'll still make fun of me, like, 10 years later because it was just a funny experience, but it's so important to know how you're wired so that you can support
Yeah,
yourself.
exactly. The more you know, I mean, it's just we don't know what we don't know. How do you work with it if you don't know? Again, people say I'm afraid to find out my DNA. Why are you afraid to find out? Now I know reasons why I'm like this, and that only helps me because I know if I stay in that state, I'm not going to be good.
Mhm.
So how do you work with it? And again, for those that are going to be like either of us, you with the fight and the flight. And I now, interestingly enough, when I had a very close to death experience, geez, it was 1991, so this is years ago. And I thought at that moment, I resolved myself to the fact that this is it. I had that. It was like and you and I have talked about this, where your feet become like concrete. You can't. It's like you're stuck. Even though part of you is, "I wanna get away," but you resolve yourself to this fact, and I wonder, do people live in this on sometimes a day-to-day basis? That type of feeling of, "I'm stuck in my situation," or, "The world is stuck in the situation, I can't do anything about it," or where they feel they can't do anything about it, so it's like being your feet in that concrete block, and that's how their body is reacting, where in a different state, like, we can start there. I started with that concrete block these past few months, and then I said, "I don't wanna be in this state." Now it's the fight or flight. Now I'm done. What do I need to do to get the hell out of this? So
Mm.
can you progress from one state, whether it's the immediate craziness to the block of paralyzing? Is there can you progress to that? And conversely, the other way as well?
Oh, totally. You have to remember, we're more than a body. right? We're a holistic system. We have the psycho-emotional, mental, physical aspect, spiritual. There's so many aspects of who we are, and depending on the season of life you're in, what's going on with you, how your inner healing is going, how your physical health is, how much inflammation's in your system, all of these things are going to affect the way that you respond to fear both consciously and unconsciously. So if there's something so much mental health stuff is related to people feeling like they have these layers, like depression doesn't always show up as sad. Sometimes people who are just enraged all the time, very angry, that can indicate depression, right? There can be someone who's in a fear place, in a shut down, isolated place, and it's impacting symptoms of depression, right? So, depending on what's going on in your life and other factors, it can move the scales for where you're going to be reactive to things like
Yeah.
it can also open or close your receptivity to things like love, connection, compassion, joy. People who are in fear cannot feel joy because you can't access the parts of your physiology that let joy in if you feel like you're in danger. Your body is like, nope. That's not important right now. We have to survive. Feeling joy goes to the bottom of the list when survival is at stake. And in a
Absolutely.
prolonged experience, right, that could be years, maybe decades of not feeling joy because a person is so locked into their fear.
And it makes me so sad when I meet with a client early on and I say, "So what brings you joy?" I'm like, "I don't know, nothing." And and I think that they've been living in this, whether it's fear mode of I've tried everything and now I fear that I'm not going to change. I fear that there is nothing that is going to be right for me to help me
Mhm.
through this. And it saps every bit of potential joy because there's that tunnel vision again. All is the frustration of whether you with people emotionally feeling flat or robbed of that joy. And I'm seeing them mainly on that physical part, that it's affecting the systems. It can
Mhm.
affect hormones, the inflammation. And again, we've got these major inflammation SNPs of DNA, the IL-6 and TNF alpha, majorly increased by prolonged stress.
Mhm.
So it makes sense why the body's reacting like it does, but the part of the joy is what makes me so sad because people get into this space, especially if you have someone that's dealing with chronic things and they're like, nothing works. I feel like shit. I don't want to feel this way anymore. I want to live my life. I want to enjoy my spouse and my children. I want to go do the things I used to love to do. And I said, well,
Yeah,
what are things that bring you happiness now? I don't know. That just that feeling of stuckness.
that's called anhedonia in psychology talk when you have the inability to feel pleasure or to take joy and pleasure in the things that used to give you joy. And research by Brené Brown has shown that joy is actually the scariest emotion of all the emotions. And it's because they're so far to fall from joy. If you allow yourself to get into that elevated state, it's actually quite a vulnerable experience
It
to
is.
joy,
It
right?
is.
She has two really cool concepts. One of them she calls dress rehearsing tragedy, where people mentally will project into the worst possible, most tragic future and they'll just rehearse it in their mind. And that sort of unconsciously keeps them from feeling too happy. And
Absolutely.
the other is foreboding joy, which is cutting joy off at the knees and just not letting it get too big because it's too scary and it's too vulnerable to feel joy,
Yeah.
right?
The other shoe's gonna drop. When's it gonna happen? If I
Yeah,
let myself be happy, something's gonna go wrong because it always goes wrong.
absolutely.
There's
And
your self-sabotage with
there's
that
fear,
thinking.
right?
There's yeah, the fear that something's not gonna be good.
So we actually have the fear of joy, which seems really counterintuitive. However, it's a protective mechanism, and our body
Yeah.
does all kinds of adaptive things to keep us safe. And if we've learned through our life that too much joy puts you in a vulnerable state where you might not be safe. Maybe relationally, when you get too happy, things don't go
Mhm.
well. Or in your life, you get too happy, you're not looking for warnings, and then something surprises you. We learn through our experience. And so many people have learned that joy is unsafe. And so they match it with fear. And ultimately, fear consumes joy and snuffs out so that you can't feel that vulnerable.
It does. It does. You talk to anybody that's in a low state, it just whether it's a low state of anxiety, depression, fear, any of it, and you say, "What are you grateful for today?" "I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know." Okay, you're sitting in a room that has a roof over it.
Yeah.
They might be sitting there with their dog or their
Yeah.
cat. My cat. Like, and again, those are things we don't tend to see, the little things, and that's where you can really turn things around with starting to view those little things. And everybody's like, gratitude journal is stupid, but it really isn't. When you start to look around at you, and it could be the simplest of things, even 3 things a day
Mhm.
that you're just grateful for. And it's training the brain. The brain, we actually we this we train it. And I saw years ago when I used to watch mainstream TV. It was like the Today Show, and they had a brain expert on there. I don't remember what his name even was. And he said, first thing in the morning, you want to wake up and say out loud, "This is gonna be a fantastic day or a great day," or "I'm ready to take on" whatever. He said, then you start training the brain to look for good things. When you wake up and you roll over in bed and you're like, "Shh, another day. What am I gonna do today? Same shit I did yesterday. This is just not." Then you're training the brain to look for everything negative. And what do you find all day? More negative and more negative. That just feeds those it confirms those thoughts that you had that, yeah, like life doesn't get any better. I'm just
Mhm.
resigned to living like this. So I started, and again, this has been probably over a decade that I wake up first thing in the morning and I throw open my door and frickin' frack are sitting right in front of the door waiting for their food. And I'm like, "Morning, Kit Kat, it's gonna be a great day." And they on the wood floor, scares them every single day. You think they're right? There's their fear response. Like, "Ah, I gotta get out of here." If it scares the crap out of me, I just chuckle every day. But I start even if I woke up in the morning thinking, "I didn't sleep great last night," or something was off, I start to it automatically brightens me up. That's
Mhm.
one thing we can do, but we train the brain. Do you train the brain in the morning when you wake up to look for the crap? It's no different. Say you're in the dating scene and people are you wanna talk fear? Fear in the dating scene? Oh my god. Everybody's afraid, I always end up with the narcissist, and I'm gonna be with this person, this person. It's like, that's what are you looking for out there?
Mhm.
What do you look for when you meet people? Do you go in with this fear of, "I'm gonna be taken, I'm gonna be used," or do you go out there thinking, "There's good people in the world, and one of them is coming towards me, or several of them are coming towards me?"
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
how are you training your brain to look at that? Because that's what you're going to bring in. You can keep yourself in that perpetual state of fear of whatever subject it is, or start looking, just look for 1 or 2 good qualities. People are inherently good. I will not give up that notion that people are inherently good. And I hear every freaking day, people suck. People suck. Okay. If you think everybody sucks, they suck.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like what new age spirituality speaks about is frequency, right? And raising and lowering your frequency. And I think what you've talked about with waking up in the morning and setting the tone for your day is a great tool to be able to really combat fear and stress and everything that could alter your day before it hasn't even happened. And there's a few other suggestions that I could offer that I think could be helpful for people if you're like, great, now what do I do about fear? It's important to use your breath, first of all, because when we are in a fear place, your breath tends to get shallow and quick.
Yep.
And that's really functional if you need to run and hide in
Mhm.
save your life. It's not functional every day. So, a way to tone the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the part of your nervous system that soothes you, regulates you. It's the rest and digest aspect of your nervous system. So your body is relaxed and it feels safe to do things like digestion, which it's not going to prioritize if you're in a
Nope. Or
sympathetic
growing your
state.
hair or
Exactly. So, something that tones that parasympathetic nervous system is if you make your exhales longer than your inhales. So, you can do this so easily by just counting. Maybe count to 3 for your inhale and 5 or 6 for your exhale, and do that a few times. That's just
Mhm.
one really easy form of breath work. A lot
Yeah.
of people know about 4 square
Or
breathing.
7, 8. 4, yeah, or 4, 7, 8 is the big one.
Okay, yeah. So, having a real pace where you're doing your breath. Another one that I really like is called the double inhale exhale. And if you pair it with what's called a parasympathetic sigh, by actually sighing, you tone the parasympathetic as well. So the double inhale, it actually compresses the cavity around your heart. And then with the slow, long exhale, it soothes your parasympathetic nervous system. So you take in just a normal inhale. And then at the top of your inhale, you just sip in a little bit more breath. And then with an exhale, if you can add your sigh, have a long, slow exhale with the sigh and do it 5 times, 10 times. Sometimes I'll do this if I have some anxiety when I'm trying to fall asleep. I'll just do
Same
the
here.
inhale, exhale. So using your breath can directly combat your fear and stress response. And that double inhale, exhale is one of the most researched forms of breath work that can soothe your nervous system. So definitely give that one a try.
Real quick question before we
Yeah.
move on from that, though. Now, are you talking b our stress breathing is into the chest. This is why we get really tight. The
Mhm.
traps get really tight at the end of the day because 'cause we've basically been doing shrugs all day.
Mm.
And it's again, it's that longer in and shorter out. That's that stress breathing. So what I tell people is in and out through the nose. We produce the nitric oxide in and out through the nose, but the belly breathing or diaphragmatic breathing. So that's where I want to clarify. And there's 2 different ways. There's you can do the the 2 in into the belly, which you always want to go belly, not directly into the lungs, but there is some where you go first into the belly and then into the lung
Mm.
for a second. And then you want to and then you go out, but nose
I'm
is
trying that even as you're talking, and I feel it works even in the moment. Oh, I feel so calm. Thanks,
I
Susan, for
demonstrate
allowing.
for clients. I'm like, "Oh, okay. I'm super chill now, ready to fall off my ball here."
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and but that belly breathing is a major part, and I just wanted to make sure people understand that they're not still stress breathing, trying to get everything into the lungs. Go into that diaphragm. You can put your hands on your tummy, and it takes time to get used to this if you're a chronic, like, chest breather, chronic stress breather. But feel as you breathe in, feel that belly extend out, and then on your exhale, the belly's gonna go in.
yeah,
And it really I do it when I'm hiking too. Going uphill, I'm really, really focusing on that. In and nose breathing, but into that belly, and I can bring my heart rate down going up a steep incline
so
because 'cause I'll
cool.
catch myself doing I start going, "Oh my god, the stress breathing starts."
Yeah,
But you can really bring things down.
yeah.
And and another interesting thing really quickly here, I did a just took a seminar on HRV training, that heart rate variability. And when people have that low heart rate variability, which tends to go low, especially with chronic stress or inflammation, things like that. But that was one of the best things. So I was glad you brought up the breathing because they said one of the things you can do to start bringing in that parasympathetic system is the breath work. And people think breath work, it's bunk. I tried it. I can't do it. You can't do it if you think you can't do it because it's free and it's easy and you can do it and no one has to know unless you're doing the sigh.
Yeah, you could do it anywhere, and
Anyway,
it takes practice. It's like a muscle. The more
yes.
you work it, the stronger it gets, and honestly, I know for women, maybe for men too, We were taught to suck in our stomachs so that we could look thin. So, for so many women, there's actually a teaching process of letting your stomach expand with the breath.
Yep.
And so many women are like, no, with my breath, I suck in my stomach. And they don't realize that there are cultural overlays that related to body image, related to beauty standards that are actually harming their nervous system and preventing them from having that soothed parasympathetic response. So,
Yeah. So
this.
true. So true. I thought about it too when I was doing CrossFit, when I'd be in the class, and because I don't do the classes now, and we'd have a running wad. I mean, there are times in summer it's hot, I'd strip off my shirt, so I'm in a sports bra and like type, like bicycle type shorts, so you can see your body. And I'm thinking, how am I going to belly breathe? Like, I'm going to look on the inhale, I'm going to look 5 months pregnant. On the exhale, I'm going to look normal. This is the things that go through your head
Yeah.
about this. And I thought, I don't care because people are running by me doing their mouth into the upper breathing. And now I'm passing them at the end with the big belly as I inhale. Who cares? Be
Yeah.
you, own it. And we're, as you said, like we're so tied to other people's, what the world thinks of us. And some health types more than others are worried about what everybody thinks. Some really don't care as much, but yeah. So go ahead. What's your next? Give another tip. That was breath work was fabulous, sister.
Breathwork, yeah. So the second one relates to what you were talking about with gratitude. So the Heart Math Institute has done a lot of research around gratitude, and they study something called heart brain coherence. And this is when your heart and your brain are in flow and resonance with each other so that you're not just thinking and existing in your headspace and cut off from the rest of your body, which is ultimately a state of high anxiety and stress because you're
Yeah.
not embodied. So a lot of the work that I do with my therapy clients is embodiment focused. And being able to access there are neurons in your heart which are actually normally you'd find neurons in the brain, but we now know that there are neurons in the heart. And if you can have this heart brain coherence, then you can access the intelligence of your heart almost like a second brain. And it exists simultaneous to the brain in your head. There's also a brain in your gut, but we'll talk about the heart brain today. So, doing heart brain coherence work can be really soothing for the parasympathetic, and it can also elevate your mood and it can increase your immune response. It can decrease your inflammation. It can decrease your stress. There's been so many different markers. And if you're curious, I recommend you go check out the Heart Math Institute and read some of their research because it's so compelling. But basically, they've discovered that it only takes 3 minutes, which we all have. You close your eyes and you connect to kind of a grounded state in your body. And then you just put your awareness on your heart and you notice sensations there. Maybe there's like a warmth or a tingling, or you might even feel your heart beating. And you just breathe into the experience in your heart, imagining that you're actually breathing from your heart, like your heart itself taking in the air and then having that slow exhale. And then when you're in that state of being connected to your heart, calling to mind anything, anyone who you feel gratitude or appreciation for. It could be a memory, it could be the simplicity of having a roof over your head, like you mentioned. It could be gratitude as a state for life itself. But however you can access gratitude or appreciation, those are the two emotions that HeartMath has researched. They actually practice with love at one point, but they found out the word love is really loaded for people, so it doesn't bring about the same response. So gratitude and appreciation. And as you're just breathing through your heart, sensing into your heart space, noticing gratitude, appreciation, if you can sustain that for 3 minutes, you will have a huge increase in your immune response that will stay level for the day. You'll have a decrease in your inflammation markers. You will have huge measurable release on your stress load. And it's a really good way in the moment of fear to combat fear. If you notice that you're really amped up, to go into the heart space and access gratitude. And you'll notice that internally and externally, everything about you feels like it's on a different frequency, a higher one.
It is. Love is the highest frequency out there. That is legit. I think we talked about that with Dr. Martinez. It is the highest frequency. And the other, because I actually do this. And the other thing, you can just put your hand on your heart as you're breathing in, as you're thinking about it, and you can feel an energy. It's
Mm.
pretty powerful. And it helps you if you're not used to breathing into your heart, put your hand on your heart and do it. And it will help you as you come in. You can do it from the feet. Imagine it coming up through your feet, or you can imagine coming right to the heart. But
Yeah.
yeah, I do that pretty
And you
regularly.
can
I like to
you can get
start my
kinda
day
silly
that way.
with it. Imagine that
Yeah,
your heart has a little mouth on it and it's sucking in the air. Like, it can be silly, it can be funny, it doesn't have to be so serious, but just practicing. Can you breathe in through your fingertip if you have awareness? This is all just embodiment work where you're starting to access the capabilities and the wisdom of the body. So
yeah,
that's another one. And I have one more tool that I'd like to offer. So this one is the work of Byron Katie. You might be familiar with it. She calls it the work. And it's a series of asking yourself 4 questions. This works with your cognitive mental space around what you might be thinking fear wise. So you take a fearful thought. Maybe the thought is like, I don't know. These days I hear a lot like the world's going to hell, something like that. So the first question is that true?
yeah.
And sometimes it's, yeah, that's true. That's how
In
I,
my world, it's true.
right?
But is it really
Sometimes,
true? It's all our perception.
but sometimes people are like, oh, I don't know if that's actually true. So that's the first question. Is it true? And then the second question, you just ask again, like, really? Is it really true? Is there a way that you could actually know for sure that that's true? And honestly, anything, anything in the world is so uncertain. We don't even know if we're awake right now. This whole thing could be a large dream. Who knows?
Yeah, we don't know if we're gonna wake up tomorrow. I'm great. That's the first thing I'm grateful for is I open my eyes, another day to work it.
Another day, yeah. So asking yourself, am I absolutely sure that the world is going to hell right now? Am I absolutely sure? And you can't possibly be absolutely sure of anything. So that answer is always no. And then to feel the relief of, oh, I'm not absolutely sure. And then asking yourself, how do I feel when I believe this thought that the world's going to hell or any other fearful thought? And you notice you have tension, maybe some stress, maybe your throat feels constricted, maybe you're going to worst case scenarios, dress rehearsing tragedy, all these negative things when you notice that thought. And then the fourth question is, who would I be without this thought? And then people get to think, gosh, I think I would feel free. I think I would feel lighter. And so it's just reframing that thought and it's going down the layers of really getting curious about it and challenging it. Because a lot of the time, if you're not in an urgent situation, like a lion is rushing at you, a lot of the fear we feel is invented cognitively, or it's about
Sure.
something that hasn't happened yet in the future. It's anticipatory, or it could be about something in the past that's long over. So, working with fear in the mental space is excellent. So, I'll just say the 4 questions one more time and then we'll hand it off to you. So, is that
Sure.
true? Can you be absolutely sure that it's true? How do you feel when you notice that thought? And who would you be without that thought? And you can check out Byron Katie's work if you want to go into more depth on this. She's got some great books and stuff too. So, it's to work with the mind around fear.
Love it. I love it. Worry is creating something that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Creating and the 2 things with fear, and I know I'll get one wrong. I know the first one is fear, F-E-A-R, face everything and rise. And the other one I think is fear everything and run, or
Mhm.
face everything and run. It's one or the other, but either way, rise or run. You have the choice of how you choose to deal with it. Every decision we make could be a chance to live a different life.
Mhm.
Just one decision can change. And it could be that decision of, I'm going to rise from this instead of let it control me. You have those 4 things. I had started doing this late last week. I came across a YouTube with Tony Robbins. No relation, people. And it was 7 things to say when you start your day. So I write them down in my journal and I ripped it out and I have it on my nightstand. So every morning I've been waking up and the very first one is, but you don't just say it and then walk away. You have to you sit with it. You say it, you sit with it, you feel into it. Because if you just say it, it doesn't mean anything. You have to feel into it. The very first one is, I choose to be happy. It is a choice. There's so was I talking to you about? It was somebody I was talking to. And oh no, it's my friend Annette. I think, oh God, now I can't remember. Anyway, it doesn't matter. How the people when I was in Costa Rica years ago, they didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. And they were the happiest, most generous people I've ever come across.
Mhm.
So it's not about the material things, it's about the joy that we choose to have in our hearts and the
Mm.
people we surround ourselves with. If you're around people that make you feel like crap, that's saying, or they give you that stress response. And we've had a whole podcast on that. So tune into that if you want to hear that. And the other thing I think is, so there were 7 things. So that was one of them. And that was the biggest thing in my mind. And then I take, oh my God, was these obstacles as challenges. And every time I get to that one, I go, I'm working on it. But I'm an activator, so I embrace challenge. But sometimes you get, my God, how many challenges am I supposed to have? And that's again where I think a lot of people get to where they they feel like they can't get a break. It's one thing after the other. How much of it are we creating? How much of it are we bringing on ourselves? One of the other things he says, I choose to only focus on the things I can control. And that's the other thing. We all want to focus on things that are out of our control, which creates more fear
Mm. Yeah,
and more
plug for
issue.
the serenity prayer here. That's my favorite thing to say when I just need the reminder there.
Yeah, you don't have to be an addict to do it. But I sit there and it's like I'm committed to improvement every day. I go, yeah, I'm all right, every day. On that, the last one was about making a difference in the world today,
Mm.
and it's like even with a person or anything, and you go, I could do this all day long. I could be nice to Sam when he tears something up of mine instead of being like, I want to kill this cat. There's one life that's left. I could be, oh, Sammy, I still love you. Again, we choose. Do we choose to just pick one person to bring that out to during the day? Or is it something that just a smile at somebody could, you don't know what every person's carrying. How many people are walking around like this now? The ones that are vocal, yeah, I hear it all the time, but there's others that are silently carrying this. And maybe just the wave or the hello or the smile of a stranger to them could change their whole perspective to maybe that's a piece of joy that they hadn't recognized or felt. But it's 7 things, and you can look that up. It's on YouTube. Just look up Tony Robbins 7 things in the day. So these are all tools. Like you could work with whatever jam you want to work with. But all of these really help to retrain that brain because just like DNA, our DNA is our DNA. We can't change it, but we sure as hell can change how it expresses. The brain, as this is what I think the takeaway with what you said, we have control over the things we think. We don't think we do, but we do so much of it.
Mm.
So, all those things you can't control are all exterior, but the things you actually have control are all inside of you.
Absolutely.
That's the biggest thing. The other thing I want to touch on is like alcohol and drugs. People want to escape.
Mhm.
I was out on the lake, just sitting there at my paddleboard, unobstructed view on Sunday, the mountains, no clouds in the sky. And I get this overwhelming smell of weed. I'm like, I'm on a mountaintop at 11,000 feet and people are smoking weed. And I've had hikes with other people who've pulled out, you can't make it up. Jägermeister doing shots at the top of the incline. And I go, you're doing something, you're in tune with your body, you're out here, you have this beauty surrounding you, but you need to be baked or loaded. There's an escapism in there. You're trying to escape some form of your reality. Change the reality instead of escaping from it.
Mhm.
So when you feel that pull to get that dopamine hit of pleasure, of this is going to make me feel so much better in this moment, you're going to feel worse the next moment. And so I'm just cautioning people as far as turning to those things to escape.
Mhm.
Go inside, do some of these tools. These tools, they might sound crazy, the breathing and her 4 questions and my 7 statements, but they make a difference, and you'll feel it with the breathing. You could feel relief in minutes, if that long. The questions within a day or 2, because it starts getting you out of what you think is reality, but it really isn't. It's just your mind. And then the last thing I wanna touch on that people don't equate with this is your food and supplements even. There's some supplements for some genetic types, I am one of them, can create anxiety, agitation. Is this feeling I'm feeling, or do I feel like I'm out of control?
Mhm.
Uh, and then the foods, just like the alcohol and drugs, are we escaping looking for a comfort food? Let me escape into a bowl of ice cream at night. How many clients, and probably ones you talk to too, they have to have that at night. It's that comfort, especially I'm seeing a lot of it with people who are living in less than ideal home situations.
Mhm.
That's their comfort, is reaching for that food. That food, if you think about sugar, what that does to the brain, right there, you're basically y- you're creating more issues with that brain and making it harder to recover. Any of the processed foods have things in there that are high in glutamate. Again, very excitatory neurotransmitter. And you wonder why someone, even that's depressed, maybe they're going for these. I'm going for pastries and bread and pasta and all of these things that can really amp somebody up and create this state of anxiety, but yet they're very depressed. They want to go for this comfort because they're warm and it's chewy or creamy and sugary and it makes them feel good at that time. But what it's doing to the body chemistry, and that the sugar, again, also increases the IL-6 and the TNF alpha. So it's increasing inflammation. And we know that that doesn't only affect the brain part of this, but it also is the root for disease. So
Absolutely.
all of this is all that's why, your mind on body. It all works together here. The body is a very complex system. And if we're only looking at one part, we're missing out. Go.
Yeah. And also, too, I think caffeine is really important to talk about here because, especially if you are in a state of fear and if your body is having that background music of fear playing and you continue to amp it up with substances like
Yep.
caffeine, right? And sometimes there are so many substances at play. There's the downer effect of alcohol and then the upper effect of caffeine, and people are messing with many substances. How is your nervous system supposed to regulate?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
you're really working against your nervous system by amping it up artificially and synthetically when really, I know it might not feel good. You might feel drained. You might feel that sort of tired but wired feeling that people often feel in fear. But so they're like, how do I get through my day without a couple cups of coffee? But I tell these people, I know it's counterintuitive, but I want you to drink chamomile
Mm,
tea in the morning
yeah, you do.
instead of coffee, and you'll still make it through your day, and you'll be much more regulated by the time you try to go to sleep later, and then you'll start a cycle of good sleep leading to more energetic mornings that are not based on these uppers and downers,
Yeah,
but on your true biology doing what it was designed to do. You just have to get out of the way, and your body knows how to do what it was designed to do, but it's things like caffeine, like sugar, like you said, alcohol, different substances. It just confuses the natural essence of what your
it
body
does.
knows how to do.
That's it. That is such a fantastic point. Such a fantastic point. And if you don't know genetically how you handle caffeine, for someone who is a slow metabolizer, one serving can be in the system up to 12 hours. Now, if you're tired because you can't sleep at night well and you're living on coffee all day long, you think about all that adding up. You basically have caffeine in your system 24 hours. And for a slow metabolizer, it's not cardioprotective. It can actually be the opposite. For someone who's a fast metabolizer, it could be up to 6 hours in your system. Now, there it's more cardioprotective for them. However, again, there's people drinking coffee at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock after dinner. You think this isn't going to affect your sleep? And this is one of the biggest things is the lack of sleep. And really people need to concentrate on this too, is sleeping. Do some of these things we're talking about. Your sleep's going to get better. Get off the junk, get off the alcohol, the absolute worst for sleep cycles. Yeah, you need it. You think you need it to fall asleep. Try the breath work instead, right? Put on some binaural beats music. You can get them on YouTube, Spotify, any of that to start calming the body because the alcohol will throw off the sleep cycles and you won't have a restful night of sleep and you're not going to get that recovery. And that's why you're going to have that perpetually low heart rate variability or HRV levels. So you have a sensor or a crusader, both super active, overactive central nervous systems. They're not recommended for caffeine because it, again, like you said, it amps up even more. And the crusaders I see, the majority are the big coffee drinkers because they don't shut off. They don't stop. The mind doesn't stop, the body doesn't want to stop. And they're totally driven by dopamine. So it's that next goal. So they feel like they have to have that coffee to get that goal, to be able to reach that goal. But when we get them off of the caffeine, there's actually a bit of calmness that comes in and they see that, wow, I can actually achieve this goal
Mhm.
even more efficiently and clearly because I'm not so amped up. I think the connector brain is one where it's not really recommended either because there's so much of a lack of focus. You amp that up again more. And I know that with me, don't get me near caffeine. I can't think because I'm jittery, like I'm all over the place. I need calm to be able to focus. And that's
Mhm.
our issue is like more of a lack of focus. And I'll see other health types tend to do okay. Activators are already testosterone or adrenaline driven. We don't tend to need that. So, right? Because we already wake up amped up, unless we're burned out. Then again, then you're going to see when you're burned out, you're going to go for that caffeine and it's just helping to keep you in that burnout mode.
Mhm.
Eh, Food wise, again, you want to make sure that you get your protein with each meal, but extraordinary amounts increase cortisol. And when you're very stressed, those cortisol levels. So there's just so many different pieces that come into it. If you want to learn more about how to work with the brain on this or this type of stuff that Kate's talked about, talk to her. If you want to understand how your body reacts to different foods, why maybe you're amped up, what your genetics are, then talk to me. But yeah, and if you want to work with both of us, then you're really going to find everything out that you need to know about yourself. But really, the more you understand about you and how you're wired, again, it's things you can control. But
The more you
it's
can
not.
support yourself.
That's what it's all about because
Yeah.
everybody looks for these outside things
Yeah,
to help.
absolutely.
It's all we have it all inside. We have it all inside. Sometimes we just need guidance on how to get there to
And
that.
sometimes it takes a little bit of work because we have to
Oh,
undo so much of our programming and conditioning to get back to a healthy baseline. And so, if this feels overwhelming for you, if you're feeling fear, as we're talking about fear, see if you can just come back to a place of self compassion and speak to yourself kindly. Say to yourself, one step at a time, we'll just do the best we
yep,
can. Just
yep.
one step at a time. Even if they're baby steps, there's still movement in the right direction.
Baby
So,
steps are great.
yeah. So try to
Yeah.
just be kind to yourself as you're reorienting your paradigm and you're changing the way that your life is moving because it's not a light switch. You're a human being. You have a lot of complexity and nuance. And I think that's what makes us all so interesting and beautiful. And it's also what takes time to make really significant change in our bodies.
And it really is a journey. That's not just a little cliche term, but it really is a journey that you're on this earth. And there's lessons to be learned. And these are great opportunities to learn from.
Hmm.
How I'm responding has put me in this space. How changing that response can put me into a different space. And it's learning. And people that are like my age, because you're quite a bit younger than I am, but people at my age, we some don't even start doing this till late in life. And others are more they're luckier learning these things earlier. But it's never too late and it's never too soon, like you said, to take that one step. And the word I use with my people is grace. Just have grace with give yourself some grace. Just know that this is just where you are today. Doesn't mean you're going to be here tomorrow. And that's a good uncertainty,
And
right?
even giving yourself grace will positively affect your fear response.
Absolutely.
even the word, the symbolism of words, as we talked about with Dr. Martinez, the symbolism of words actually changes our body and our chemistry because we have associations with words. And so if you're
Yeah.
saying grace, if you're saying patience or love, I got you, it's okay, your body's going to respond in a different way than if you're beating yourself up, criticizing yourself, giving yourself the tough love. Science shows that tough love doesn't work. It's really encouragement and softness and care, and it switches your physiology for the positive because of the associations you have with those words.
Yeah.
I think we'll
Great.
do another podcast on positive self-talk. We've got that one in the hopper.
We have lots of things in the hopper, so bear with us.
Yeah. So, should we wrap up with our
Oh,
question?
yep, do it.
Okay. For those of you who are new with our co-hosting dynamic here, we've got a new question we're gonna ask guests. We're also gonna answer ourselves to wrap it up and bring it back to us in our personal lives. And so, Susan, I'll ask you, and then you can ask me.
Yep.
Uh, what are you doing presently to cultivate a radiant life through epigenetics?
For me right now, it's 2 things. Mainly, the sleep is number 1 because I had lack of sleep for so long due to chronic stress that it really took a toll on my body. It was ravaging my body. So sleep is my priority, and I'm back, and I feel in we're gonna have a sleep expert coming on too pretty soon. Sleep is so underrated. People say, "I don't have time to sleep." Make that time to sleep. So that's priority number 1, and then my other priority, and especially as an activator, and it's so true, is movement. I have to have my movement, and I leaning into that connector cusp and trying to move twice a day, and I'm finding that that's actually changing my body composition. My body likes it, my mind likes it, I'm sleeping better, so the 2 go together. So those are the 2 priorities I have, but being mindful as to the type of training I'm doing, the type of movement I'm doing so that I'm not burning out because go, go, go. So just doing it the right way to support me and and have those goals set with my body comp and health. How about you? What are you doing to live a radiant life right now? What are your
So,
priorities?
I have recently, so for those of you who haven't heard our other conversation about this, Susan and I swapped our services so that we could get to know what each other does from a client perspective so that we could flow and talk about it on the podcast. So I have gone through Susan's protocol with her DNA testing and her pH 360 health typing, which is how we both know that I'm an activator. Uh, and what I'm doing to really lean into that right now is I am taking the feedback that I've gotten from Susan really seriously. I've swapped out my toothpaste. It doesn't have fluoride in it anymore because I sent my DNA is sensitive to fluoride. And I'm eating this like amazing vegetable kind of pasta instead of gluten.
Palmini.
Almini, and so I'm trying to do the things that Susan has helped me see in my DNA that can help me from the inside out, because I tend to be really strong in the mental, psychological aspect, like you as you probably could guess as a therapist, like my journaling, my self-talk, like we're there. But the DNA is a new level for me that I haven't explored yet, and so I'm taking it really seriously and I'm really integrating it. I'm starting some new supplements. I'm working on it on a level that feels new and exciting and a little overwhelming at first, but I'm being really patient and I'm going with it. And so thank you, Susan, for giving me the opportunity to know myself on that DNA level.
I'm so proud of you because you've taken all this. We've gone through the pH 360 profile and even worked on a lot of the timing of things,
Mhm.
looking at habits with snacking. And even though the activator should be snacking, the 3 meals, 2 snacks, because we're super active, but your timing on things and when to do this and the different types of things, even being a therapist, having that coaching of think on this. Why do you need this? What is this? And you I have to say, so for Kate, she was super overwhelmed in the beginning, but it's just 1 or 2 things at a time. And once you started leaning into those 1 or 2 things, I was so proud of you. Like, she's texted me, "Oh, I just ordered this from Amazon. I ordered this palmini, and there's a rice." I'm like, "Wait a minute, palmini rice? Are you kidding?" So she's turned me on to things. And then I had another client tell me about this pumfu, which is it looks like tofu, but it's all 100% pumpkin seed. And I said, "Oh my God, I have another one for you, pumfu." And she said, "I love pumfu." All right, you're showing me something. So we're having
Yeah.
some great trades back and forth. And she's helped me through a meltdown. And like I said, she's always like, do you need some therapy? I'm like, I don't know. And just it's just really fun working with each other and seeing how we do the things we do. But I'm super proud of you, how you've embraced it because this is again two different activators. I'm like challenge on it and action. And Kate has very much a diplomat secondary with this brain of hers. And so she's predictable, likes routine, some spontaneity. She's open and trying some new things, but it has to feel comfortable to her.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to help her take a little bit of a chances, open up to some challenges, and so it's really cool to see. She had one today when we first started talking. It was like, "You go, girl." So it's just really, really fun to see even the change in you, just embracing who you are, how you're designed, and
Thank you.
so,
Yeah, it's fun. I had lentils for breakfast this morning because my PH 360 taught me that lentils are apparently a really important food for me, and I was hardly ever eating them, so I found a way to make a lentil porridge, which is like oatmeal, but I get this huge kick of protein. Like, it's noon, and I'm not starving. Like, I feel like it's carrying me through until lunch, and I'll go make my palmini next.
yeah, and the benefits, because the profile is all based on nutrient density. So
Mhm.
you're starting your day off with a nice punch of not just protein, but all of the other nutrients that are in the lentils with their high density there.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's again, we think of I should only have eggs or oatmeal or pancakes or something. When you open up turmeric garlic chicken is one of my favorite breakfasts. It when you just open up to different things that are a little bit outside the box, and we're good at this when we get there. It's just a whole different way of life. You don't feel as boxed in, like stuck, not being able to have something. There's so many more options when you allow yourself to think that way. So, yeah, I think it's just so cool to hear different things you're trying. I'm going, I didn't even think of that.
It's cool, and I feel like I'm loving myself on a new level, and that feels really great. Like, in the morning after I finish my lentil porridge, I'm like, "Go, girl. Good job taking care
Mhm.
of yourself this morning. I'm so proud of me. Yay." My
Yeah,
husband doesn't like the lentil porridge, so that's fine. I'll have the lentil
work
porridge.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But that's the thing. This is the beauty of embracing your authenticity
Mhm.
and getting into flow. So even though I think a lot of you was in flow, there were still some pieces that were out of flow and they're coming in and now,
Always.
wow, I get it. And I had another client say to me one time, she said, I didn't know what the hell you're talking about when you're like in flow. I didn't know what you're talking about. I get it. I'm flowing. I get it now. So when you get it, you get it. Right.
Yeah, and it feels better. It really does feel better. And that is how we build our radiant life through epigenetics is we choose our lifestyle and our behaviors in alignment with that highest flow because we're here to cultivate a radiant life. We're not here for pain and suffering. Like this is your life. This is your chance.
Yeah.
Make it radiant, make it bright. Enjoy
Yeah.
it.
We're here, like you say, it's like we're not just to glow, we're to shine. And that's yeah, we thought our light should be bright. If
Yeah.
I had a mic, I'd drop it. Good job.
Boom.
All right. So, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you got something out of this. If you're interested in working with Kate or I on anything, everything's in the show notes. But please share this because so many people, you see the Facebook and Instagram posts, there's so much fear and anxiety out there. There's fear causing anxiety, and so much of it, it's not warranted. And you're just putting yourself in a hole and unable to see the beauty of life in front of you that you actually have. And we just want you to get to that space where you're happy. So please share this as much as possible and go and take a minute and go subscribe to the podcast or to our websites and get out there. Make it a great day.
Live your radiant life and be authentic.
There you go. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day. Thank you so much for tuning into our podcast.
If you enjoyed this week's episode, we'd love for you to share it, leave a review or comment, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Help us get this information out to everyone who could benefit, and we'll keep bringing you the content you crave.
You can also check out our podcast site at everydayepigenetics.co and sign up for our newsletter to stay updated on upcoming episodes. The link is in the show notes.
If you're interested in DNA or epigenetic coaching with Susan, or Radiant Life Coaching for deep inner work with Kate, our contact info is in the show notes below.
Now go and make it a great day and let your most authentic self shine.